Welcome to Dovecraft Country, the podcast hosted by Goddess Love Jones, DKA X Factor, DKA Bad and Bougie, DKA my special sister. I'm your other host, Black Chanel, DKA the Guru, DKA the General, DKA Red Panther. And this podcast is one where two divas talk to you about the HBO series Lovecraft Country. Goddess Love Jones, how are you?
I'm great. I got my little gin cocktail.
Yes, and it is. We won't even tell people what time it is. When recording time is its own.
And get into the show. I would love to. I don't really feel like we need to put a time to drinking. You know, I think that is the type of limiting culture of America that is.
That's true, because they do drink all the time in other countries, but I think that the problem is that we are a binge drinking country like no other, and so people have issues with drinking. So I feel like, but you're right, because people go to brunch.
Yeah, and then we wanna juxtapose that with our overworked working population, and we can't relax.
You trying to preach?
I'm also off today. It's a holiday.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? So do what you gotta do. I am not off, and
Labor Day. I deserve a drink for my labor. So.
And some people labor to make that drink, so it all connects. Well, yeah. So it sounds like you're doing good.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling amazing. I'm just gonna shift.
Do that. Yes, show
off my
your scenery.
Yeah, this is a gallery wall in the making, as well as
I love that
design, but it's definitely a vibe.
An artifact. It's definitely an artifact. Yeah, my background is my mama's basement, and that's as far as I'm gonna go. Let's see, maybe I'll change my background for those who are watching.
Another thing that I do want to say is that similar to this show that we're gonna critique, I have some African American artifacts in my gallery to the left. So I think that is really interesting, because there are historical facts and artifacts that we'll probably discuss.
It connects. It does. Yes.
Culture.
Because episode 1 of Lovecraft Country brought up, like, it set us in the world, right? Like, the pilot is always important, because it either is going to set up a bunch of stuff that's going to happen and it's foreshadowing, or it's just getting you, like, kind of hypnotized by the world that they're going to place you in the rest of the time, and you're recognizing, like, is this a story that has happened and we've seen before? Is this some new shit? Is this some mythical shit? So I really like that about episode 1. And just speaking of this, so I'm going to change my background since we have an issue.
Ooh.
Here I am. Yes. It's relevant to episode, although now I'm disappearing.
Should I change the background? No.
Oh, no, yours is nice. That's why I changed mine, because you can see mess. But by the way, we are wearing our bonnets today because we're keeping it real this episode. If you watch on our YouTube, if you watch on our YouTube, we're going to create, then one day you'll see different looks. Like, come for the critique, stay for the looks.
Right. We might do a
Period.
couple things.
Period. Okay. Yeah, I love that idea. Oh, let's do it. We should definitely do a 20s thing one day and see, like, is there a way to replicate? Wow, I'm inspired now. Okay, great. So let's get into the episode. Let's talk about the show. So one thing I noticed before we started was there's something called Lovecraft Country Sanctum, and it is a VR experience they're about to put together with this show.
No way.
No way. It's for real. No way.
But I don't have VR technology.
My job sent me a cardboard VR. If I can use this, I will report back. But also, like, getting a cardboard is actually pretty easy. Like, I'll send you the link later. Like, there's Google's doing this whole cardboard thing where it's just these boxes that kind of, like, you fold it together. And I actually told you about VR for a very inappropriate reason. But VR is great for love in the time of Corona. That's all I'm going to say. And we'll move on. What'd you say?
Sure.
Yes, it's a feature. But anyway, I want to definitely look into that. And
I made is really good. I know, very off topic, but
nice. Enjoy. You definitely should.
Goes a long way.
Jen. I want to talk about the creators of the show. So the creator is credited as Misha Green, who is a Black woman who also was, I don't know if you knew this, she's wrote and produced for Underground, like the very progressive show about slavery that came on cable that I missed, but appreciate from afar.
We'll catch
You
up
watch
on
it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that'll be the next show, and other things, of course, as well. But she created this show, which I think is crazy. I think it says that she maybe wrote or teleplayed 3 of these episodes. So anyway, just shout out to Black women creators. Knowing something is created by a Black woman or written by a Black woman lets me know that I can relax and just enjoy it. There's also, I wanted to shout out to the writer of Lovecraft Country novels, who is Matt Ruff. So I don't know his background, so we won't focus on him. We're just going to dedicate this episode to Misha Green.
That's amazing. And also, it makes me think of our last conversation where we were talking about too many slave movies, but not enough nuance. And she was like, okay, I'm going to do a slave show, but okay, we're about to do Black witchcraft, Black magic. We're about to do some Black sci-fi.
Hell yeah. All of it. All that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also...
I don't know if there's Black witchcraft in there, but in this show, but there's going to be...
I've seen some.
So.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea. Well, no, you're right. But I love the idea of that. I love the idea of nuance. And then I think that what's also really important to bring up is that this show is basically set in the 1950s in America and the U.S., and it still has the impact of slavery. And I think that is really important to keep remembering. Like, there is no, like, yeah, it's not just like done, like, it's not a fad or clothing, like it impacted generations. So, you know, whatever. I don't know if I can go in deep into that. But anyway, some of the other writers on the show are, yeah, there are women writers on the show, women directors on this show. So super excited about that. Let's get into the episode. I'm gonna let you kick off episode 1.
Okay, so I tried to, like, when I thought about it and like tried to recount it, I tried to like break it down into the like scenes. But I loved episode 1 because I felt like it really gave us like bits and pieces of the important characters, and I just kept feeling like this is Black history. This is a Black story that we haven't heard before. Like,
absolutely.
We're hearing about like someone tracing their ancestry.
Yes.
Through
yes.
Jim Crow. Like we're hearing about the trials and tribulations of finding out where you can go in America. Like
yes, the Green Book aspect. Yeah.
Yes. What I loved about Uncle George was Uncle George's passion for his directory. And like him being the editor, it being something that he worked on with his wife, his whole family being involved, and that was like brought to the community. I thought that was amazing. That was so interesting and insightful. But also, like, you know, it brings up a little bit of pain, like the fact that they have to do that.
Sure.
Like,
yes.
Life to go out and make a directory for just Black people, because we can't just use the old Michelin directory and go anywhere. Like, I don't know if that was around in the 50s. I don't know when it started, but
for
like,
sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it probably did, because it was created at a time when cars, when automatic
get on the road
was big. So it was probably existing in the 50s, probably existed way before then. So yeah. Do you want me to give like my full breakdown, or should we like start going back and forth? Because, you know, I have more.
That's a great question. Let's do where you lead us through what happens, and then we just react each beat, but you can lead it.
I like that. Okay, so it starts off in what I think is a dream.
I was like, wait, I texted you like, what is this bullshit? I'm like, why is this what the show is about?
That would have really thrown me off. I would have stuck around, you know, I would have still stuck through it. And
right.
Okay, it's real sci-fi, more than I thought.
Right, yeah.
But then it starts to come back to normal. But what basically was happening is that he was reading a book that was heavy sci-fi, and it, I don't know like the word for this, but it combined real life historical facts with that.
Right, because he was like in the trenches probably of like World War II, or Vietnam. Vietnam more likely.
Yeah, I don't know what war.
Because I think he fought in Vietnam. That's why or the Korean War. There's all kind of fucking wars back then.
It's definitely the Korean War.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Duh.
Goes and calls Korea.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So he is in the war, and then there's Martian spaceship that comes down. A woman comes out of it. He sees the woman. It seems like she's saving him, but then she turns him around and there's a monster. Then it brings back American heroes, and the American heroes save us from the monsters. So then it's kind of like telling two stories. It's like, oh, this is fantastical, but then it's like, oh, our armed forces are saving Americans from monsters overseas who are like insurgents. It's starting to like how we otherize non-Americans to make it seem like we're fighting just wars when we're really just going to terrorize other people to imperialize the world.
Well, they also talk about I mean, it's funny you say insurgents, because I think about aliens, this idea of like an illegal alien or person who's not supposed to be here, and like here we are, we're the aliens in this country, and like there literally is like a spaceship, and like you said, and it's funny you say Martian, because we're not going to appropriate Mars culture. Just like but you just like, they're just, they're from, you're right, it's this real life, like, okay, we're in a battle scene, but also there's aliens, and then you mentioned in your notes the Apaches, like there's a native tribe.
Part of the book. That's what happened. In the next scene, he describes the book when he's getting off the bus. And he says that in the book, there's a Confederate officer who then running from Apache Indians, and he somehow ends up in a magical cave, and in the cave he ends up being transported to Mars, and then he becomes a Martian warlord. So, which I don't really understand because he's not Martian, but like
that's where that makes sense. Well, you know what? Because I guess in other worlds they are not as racist. Here we go.
Oh, this imagery.
Fire. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna keep googling it.
With the kinky.
Well, I was like, she looks red now, but I was like, who is this white woman? Like, it was just really, unless you come out brown skin, I'm always confused. But no, it definitely looks a little bit more kinky now. I see it. She's a red Martian. Duh. Okay, great.
So very, very, very telling of how they think that white people probably see Asian people, not white, not quite. Get it?
Not quite, not white. You got it. And by the way, if you are listening and not watching on the YouTube, then you're gonna miss out on these visual clues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So then moving on. So he gets to his family's house, his uncle's house, and you can tell that they are.
Wait, we missed a bus. We skipped over the bus breaking down.
Oh yeah. I mean, do I want to go same scene for scene? But yeah, the bus breaks down. He's on there with another Black woman, and they have to walk. Everyone else gets on a rescue, like someone comes and picks up all the passengers because they probably radioed, "Hey, our bus broke down." But it's clear that they're still in Jim Crow times, but actually in the North, because they're going to Chicago. But it's still, I'm not as familiar with the Midwest history.
They're still able to be. Yeah, like they're on their way to Chicago, but that doesn't mean those people are like nice, good. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's still like they can be on the bus, but they cannot like chill when they get out. Like, it's like you don't get the same luxury or comfort. So it's like not even a thought or even a conversation.
I don't even know why I thought like, oh, it's different. It was segregated in the North too. But anyway.
Right. It just was, it was, that probably is more indicative of just like they didn't yell at him. They didn't push him. It was like known, like we're not even going to acknowledge, oh, sorry, you have to walk. It's like, you just know you're walking. Like, and then the walking though is something I want to highlight, because there's going to be so much walking in this series, because I think even with these fancy cars we'll see later, Black people were walking everywhere because they had to get around. And just thinking about all these grandmothers walking around in flats, I'm like, they ain't had no arch support. Like, that breaks my heart, just seeing how much walking they had to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had that like pain in my chest when I saw them walking, because I said, she is in a dress, she is in shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's not. She's making the best of it. She's putting a smile on her face. Mm-hmm. She knows this trial, and I was like, damn. But anyway,
yeah, we be complaining. Anyway, yep. Anyways.
Funny because we just talked about how I showed up not ready for the walk.
LOL, that's a throwback. That's an insider, but yeah, that
I know.
yeah, I mean, as I get older, I can take stock in like our generation. I can fully understand some of the issues. Like, just like we can turn around to their generation and talk about like, well, you put yourselves and us in boxes. Like, that's where we get all these issues around identity politics. Like, you don't understand gender, you guys don't understand sexuality, but I think that like they really compartmentalized those problems because they were like, but we had to do X, Y, and Z. So we didn't even have I feel like cis Black people in that time didn't feel like they had the luxury to figure that out. But then I think about like Marsha P. Johnson and other trans people who I'm like, actually, they really didn't have the luxury to not figure it out. So I feel like it just shows how much racism hurts our community because we don't have the time to actually chill and like ruminate and decide as a community to move forward because we always feel like we need to be reacting to white people. So I don't know, that it's just a complicated issue.
And then in these times we're like, there are enough people to say that we actually don't have to fight one battle at a time. Yeah. And we should actually be fighting multiple because we're not making as much progress as we should be because we think that we can only fight one battle at a time.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Then we do get to the town. They so it starts to show the plot. Basically, what's his
Tick?
I should have his name. Yeah, Atticus, also known as Tick in this show. I just want to actually pull up his.
I think you mean also known. Dovecraft known as.
Dovecraft.
We're not, yeah, that's the acronym we're going to go with. I'm going to make it different.
But Jonathan Major's character.
Yes. And can we talk about his arms?
Because later in the show, he takes off his shirt and...
Sister. I'm like...
I saw Journey catch a picture.
Listen, yeah, she did. How about this? Look, I'm like, they don't make him like that no more. Meanwhile, they filmed this year. But I'm just like, the 50s was popping, sis. Like, they had it.
I'm dead.
It's something about that shirt though, like the way that they wore pants that fit their bodies in a way, I think a little bit better. Like I think that, urban wear, as much as I love it, doesn't really accentuate a body.
Okay, so they get off the bus, they are starting to get into who the characters are, how's the family connected, and then there's also this character who is Journey's character, but Leticia in the show. So anyway,
Leticia fucking, what's her last name? Yeah, but Leticia fucking Lewis. Yep.
Lewis. So then it becomes apparent that Tick's father's missing. He was on his way from the bus. He was saying, it's funny that the reason that I'm coming home is because of my father. I was trying to get away from him, but now I'm coming to find him. And the woman asks, what's wrong with him? He says, oh, he's missing. Then it jumps into there in the town where he's from.
Make it in Chicago, yeah.
Exactly. So it's interesting because you're trying to figure out like what is the relation, who's the father, who's the uncle. And at one point he mentions, Uncle George says, oh, it's your nephew to his wife. But I'm trying to figure out in episode 1, whose nephew is it? Like blood-wise. Because then
it was confusing at first, but I think we saw that it was Uncle George's nephew is Tick. Right. And so Hippolyta's married to Uncle George. But I thought that I thought he was saying that's your blood and I'm just the married one, but it's the other way around. Right.
And then this also comes back up later because it's kind of like, then why would his father go if it's on the mother's side? We'll get into that. Okay, so then it skips to Leticia. And because I'm not like giving play for play, but like they show them in different places. There's a big block party basically, and Leticia's out. Her sister's a singer. She gets on stage with her sister. Then her sister they get off stage, and her sister's kind of like shaming her for her lifestyle. So it seems like she's kind of like fly by the seat of her pants. We don't really know what she does for a living or where she stays or if she's been in town or if she's always away. So we don't really know that. So that's
we get the Rolling Stone feeling. But just so let's pause here. So what are the 3 characters we have so far?
Okay. So we have Uncle George. We have
who is played by Courtney B. Vance, or the king,
played by Courtney B. Vance. Then
who I would like to replace Bill Cosby as TV's father. Let me just say, but go ahead. Okay.
We have Atticus Freeman. I think their last name is Freeman. So yes, Freeman. Jonathan Majors plays Atticus Freeman, who is the young man who was in the beginning. He was in that weird, fantastical situation. He was telling a story about the book, whatever. He got on the bus broke down. Then we have Leticia Lewis, who is played by Journey Smollett, and where we think she's like a Rolling Stone, but it seems like there's a connection there because when she's getting off the stage, Atticus sees her and kind of like is like jolted. He's like, oh,
yeah, there's a little thing. Yeah.
Fine. The people in the show, they got some looks. I'm not gonna. They look.
They made it seem like an era.
What'd you say?
They made it look like an era. Like people knew how to dress. They was dancing. They was out at the block parties. They was lit. It
was turned. Yeah, they had the street bop. Woo.
And you didn't have to leave because somebody was gonna shoot somebody. Like you could be there all night for yourself.
We don't know that.
Shush. Well, I feel like they weren't. I guess they were making guns forever. Never mind.
It was in the war.
Okay, never mind. You're right.
But we don't know if respectable Negroes at the time were shooting.
Right. They wouldn't shooting over shoes. If you step on my penny loafers.
Yes, which comes up again because I'm trying to remember if this happened before or after the block party, but when Atticus meets Uncle George in the auto shop, he's getting his car fixed up because he's about to go on another trip.
Yep.
To do, did I mention? Oh yeah,
the Green Book trip. Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna do another book trip to do his directory. Atticus sees an old book, and then there's a mention about how his father is kind of like a book snob and respects classic literature more than fantasy and current sci-fi.
Yeah, because we find out that not only does Uncle George create because I thought he just did the research for the books. He also owns a bookshop, right? Yeah, like so they like books is their thing.
Right. So that's really interesting because it's kind of like giving me like Black middle class vibes, low key. Like I'm trying to figure out what is there. There's like some class distinction here going on.
Interesting.
And figure out what that really means and how it relates to the other Black people. Because also, if you remember when they start driving, then okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so there's some class distinction. I'm going to come back to it when they start driving and James Baldwin's playing. But anyway, so they talked about the book, and so I was kind of trying to figure out, like, okay, who are these people? What is their family about? Like, what is their history? What is their lineage? What is the genealogy? Like, why am I getting middle class vibes here?
Reading a book and a letter too, and like I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be important.
Yes, because he was like, they were paying a lot of attention to the letter. They were like, oh, what is this saying? Oh, this word is this. Oh, your father put so much emphasis on education, and his penmanship is not up to snuff. So that was really interesting. So again, going back to class and like, what do people value? What do these Black people value? So, and the fact that
there was an issue about whether or not it was Arkham or Artem, and I was wondering. Okay, so I will say this real quick. I felt like you could tell Uncle George had a motive because he was like really trying to like push him towards not doing the thing. Like he had clearly come for a reason to find his dad. His dad's missing, and like Uncle George is like, no, it's Artem, not Arkham. And like I looked it up because there's both. There is a such thing as Arkham, but Arkham apparently is like a fictional city, whereas Artem is like real. So I just like, I don't really, I got them confused, intertwined, but yeah, there's something behind it where he's trying to save him, whether he knows the truth or not.
Right, because there seems like they talk about the genealogy. They talk about how his mom was, Atticus's mom was obsessed with her genealogy and trying to figure that out. And it seems like she's not around because they talk about it like in the past and they talk about the father, but they haven't brought her up. So then it's like, oh, that's just fantasy. Like Arkham's not a real place. Artem is a real place. doesn't have to be connected to your mother. It doesn't have to be connected to any of that history. Like, you can go find your father, but like, I'd prefer if we not get into that. That's kind of how it felt. But then he, at the same time, he didn't hesitate too much to be like, okay, well, join me on this next trip. We'll figure it out. Because like, not too many scenes after, they're packing in the car and they're getting ready to get on the road.
Which is how I know that he doesn't know there's danger as much as maybe he just thinks, my brother, it might not be worth you chasing after my brother, maybe.
Right. Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention, like, the brother is an alcoholic. Oh, okay. So let me go into that a little bit, because just what I know about the family. So they show a fancy family photo at one point when he's packing up, when Atticus is packing up to get ready for this trip. Because I think I said already, but they're gonna go do a trip for the directory. So it seems like every week or every few days, the uncle makes a trip to go add to his directory. So Atticus is gonna go, and before they show them getting in the car, he sees a family photo, and it's him, his mother, and his father. They're dressed up. So again, goes back to class. I'm trying to figure out who they are, but also in the 50s, I'm like, okay, maybe they get dressed up for photos. The son was in the war, so he was in the armed forces, but the father did not approve of that. So that is revealed. The father is alcoholic and abusive, and also his grandfather was also abusive. That's something that comes up later in the episode. We're not sure where the mother is, and the father did not support fighting in armed forces for the USA.
Right.
So
well, I mean,
as much as he values education and he values like classic literature and like that class distinction of like having your education and being top-notch Negro, he does not support the United States. So that's really...
Yeah, the challenge, see, I didn't pick up on that as much, because I feel like I definitely picked up on the idea that like they're reading all these old books, and I'm like, am I tripping? Like, are these mostly white male authors? Like, are they talking about great Black authors? Are they talking about the Renaissance of Harlem? Are they talking about like, African like descendants? Like, I don't know, because they were listing out so many people. I'm like, I've never really heard of that. Mind you, I don't read classic literature, but what I realized is that we also maybe shouldn't equate classic literature with white America and slave-owning America, because those are not the same necessarily writers. And so I think that is kind of where I'm like, reading an old Greek book is not the same thing as supporting whiteness. It's just like, as Black Americans, we put all whiteness together because we see how it affects us globally. Like, whiteness everywhere is dangerous, but so I feel like I see that. And then I don't know, but I wonder, like, right now we have such a range of dress with Black people. Like, you have Black people who spend all their money on designer, Black people who can afford to spend all their money on designer. Then you have people who like have holes in their clothes. And then you have white people that do anything like within a range, but it doesn't mean as much. So I guess for white folks, so it doesn't say anything about their class necessarily, unless they're like dirty, then we're like, okay, like they're poor, but there's really no distinction with whites. But with Black people, you really can try to put their class together by how they dress. My point is to say that we have this idea in the 50s of people with like pressed shirts and nice khakis and nice dresses. Were there poor, impoverished Black people who could not even afford that? Or was it like, no matter what you had, your mama was sewing you a dress? Like, I just wonder about that representation. I'm not critiquing it. I'm just curious if that is an indication of class, or if that's an indication of, we live in the North, we're self-sufficient, Black people support our business, we don't need white people, so yes, we have these clothes, and they don't equate whiteness to us because we don't even really have a TV. Like, I don't have a TV, so I'm clearly not looking at I Love Lucy to see how to dress. I'm dressing the way everyone else is dressed. So I don't know, I'm curious about that. Creates a lot of more questions than answers, but that's kind of what I was thinking about.
No, that's fine, because I'm gonna go ask my grandpa.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Not to say that he wasn't even in the North in the 50s.
Right. Yeah, go do the lineage. But okay, so the education, but
but if not very, very soon after, but maybe a decade after. But either way, I'm gonna ask him like what people wore, especially when they came back, because he was in the war. What do people wear? But he's from the South, so it's interesting.
But you were saying that Montrose, who is Tick's father, is very big on education. He loves books, just like his brother George. But he is not supportive of the war, and that was like a big. We found out later that's a big rift in their relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And between Tick or between
Between Tick and Montrose, him and his father don't talk. Probably because of other stuff, but specifically they name it because he went to fight for the war, and so Montrose kind of disowned him. I think.
Yeah, or he was just like, I think honestly that they just never had a good relationship because Montrose was abusive to Tick, and that him going off to war was to get away from his father. So that just continued the rift and like widened the distance between them. And they just never could come back to having a relationship. And when he was like, I'm signing for the war, I'm getting the F out of here. So let's see, where are we? The last thing that I want to say before they leave for their trip is that he does make a call to South Korea, and a woman picks up, and the woman knows him. So I don't know what that connects back to, but it made me think about the woman who saves him who is in that first scene when they are in the sci-fi book thing, and there's a woman and they hug, they embrace, but she looks foreign. So I'm just wondering if there's any connection there.
Yeah, there's definitely this whole idea about like GIs going over there and either having families or falling in love with Asian women. And I think that has a lot to do with our community links and problems now with Black and Asian communities, because we went to an East Asian area and people sowed their seeds. Like there's Blasian kids now because of the Korean War. So interested in that.
For sure. So, okay, so now we're on the road. Basically Leticia somehow shows up when they're getting ready to leave.
Yeah, I think she like didn't really feel welcome. What happened was she was trying to stay with her siblings, and her sister was like, you can't stay with me, or basically there was like a struggle with the sister of like, you're not, like, what I have is not good enough for you, but I can't afford to live in a nice place. So yeah, you're gonna have to sleep in this boarding house with me on the floor, or I don't know what to tell you. And then there's this thing, there's definitely going to be a colorism conversation between her and her siblings, because Leticia is light skin like Journey Smollett is, and then her sister, who's a singer, is dark skin, chocolate. And so the difference in their experience, I'm curious to dig more into. But anyway, so she's like, hey, I want to ride with you guys. And I'm like, I hope Uncle George is faithful, because I would not know if I want my old husband to be in a ride with Leticia fucking Lewis. I'm like, huh?
But that's so interesting, because like maybe because she's also so much younger and probably would be more attracted to Tick than to the older gentleman. But
yeah, it worked itself out. But I was like, I hope they don't go in that direction.
Very much like Black love vibes between him and his wife. Like Black love.
Yes, that's a fact.
Ride or die. You're gonna go out on the road for the culture, for the Black people, but you're gonna come back to me and we're a team. I did not get you're a Rolling Stone and I'm holding the house down while you just sow your seeds. Like, so hopefully that's not what's going on.
Hippolyta, yeah.
Some interesting things there before they get on the road. They were looking at the map. I forgot to mention this when they were in the bookstore. The map has, or maybe this was when they were in the house, but it has the Grim Reaper on it.
No, we're ahead.
Oh.
This is when, so they get on the road, and I think one of their stops, because they recognize they're going to Massachusetts, they are going to Lovecraft Country. They know that from the book. That's from the Arkham County thing. Arkham County is in like Devon, Massachusetts, and so they know that's where they're headed. And Leticia's going somewhere. I forget where even they're supposed to like drop her off. And so they're gonna go there. And when they get there, they stop over in Leticia's brother's house, who's also chocolate, a different complexion. They stop in his house, and he has a map because he also does something with like research and it's like, it just shows how like every person was doing something for the community, whether it was entertaining them, researching for them, keeping them safe, like learning. I guess there was probably some people who didn't do everything, but everyone here is like, I do research. You call me if you need help with the road trip, because I know you have to stop here for safety. Like, it was like a sense of they had to play that role. I picked up on that. I don't know if you did.
No. I definitely did pick up on that, but I still am trying to figure out.
Yeah, so now he pulls out a map, and the map has a Grim Reaper on it.
Yeah,
like you
but
said.
I'm trying to figure out if that was at the brother's house or if that was when they were still in.
No, it was at the brother's house that I remember seeing on the table.
Are you sure? They might have picked it out again because I just saw the map earlier. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll come back to that. We'll confirm later on.
Well, he's letting them know, like, y'all be careful. Actually, I think this is probably a Green Book type of map because they're saying, like, you will die if you come through Essex County because the sheriff will kill your ass. Like, these are sundown towns.
Right. No, but he looks at the map earlier on and he sees that there is a like monster on the map. I'm looking at it right now. This is when he is, I don't know where he's at, but he must be in his house and he's looking at the map with Courtney.
Yeah. So is that a jail?
They're together. See, this is not when they are at the brother's house. This is at Courtney B. Vance's house right after they come back from the block party, or he comes back from the block party.
Right. Oh, so I think that there were like, maybe there are different markers because that's just Arkansas. So that's still west because that map you just showed was Arkansas. So I feel like maybe that's what it is. Like, I think that maybe we're. So I think that there are like, maybe there are different markers because that feels dark. I feel like we're late.
Yeah, I'm gonna close the show.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think you have a good point. I think that I feel like these are maybe these are Uncle George's maps now that I think about it because
I'm trying to figure it out because later on I heard someone say Barbara's map. This is weird, but I heard the word Barbara, the name Barbara, and he was like, Barbara's map, something. So then I was like, who's drawing on the map? And why would they be using a Grim Reaper and a monster to designate places where you shouldn't go? So that's really weird.
Well, because they're saying you're going to die. Like, they're saying, like...
Like, why wouldn't they just be, like, X?
Because Grim Reaper is clear. X could be treasure marks the spot.
What's monster?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because it's like, what are they really saying? So I do think that there's maybe some... And
there was a building.
Right, that I think might be jail. I don't know, but yeah, I think that there's definitely some research we need to do before next episode about like, where the maps. Safe house, yeah, maybe. Because the idea is like
the brothers where the brother lives.
Right. Okay.
That was interesting. I'm trying to figure out some little details. I'm like, who is this map? Then, so anyway, we can talk about when they get to. Oh, actually, we got to talk about the chase first because I kind of skipped the chase. Okay. They go to a diner in a place called Simmonsville. That's a stop that they're like, oh, like maybe we should make a stop, kind of hungry. We do need to do some work for the directory before we get to Artem. Because
Uncle George heard that this diner might be okay, which is like, I think somebody set him up.
I don't know. Maybe he just heard that there was a diner and he's trying to find stops. Like, that's the whole point of it. So he was like, well, let's just check it out. You never know. They could be safe house whites. So let's just check it out. So they go to the diner and it's clearly not a safe house. As soon as they go in, a white man looks at them crazy and walks out. And then the guy at the counter, the white man, he's like the waiter. He's shaky. He's weird. He didn't pass the menus. He's like, what's up? Like, how can I help you? Like, do you need something more than how can I help you? And then they're like, well, yeah, we're great. We're just getting a stop. Like, can we get some menus? We're probably going to order some food. No big deal. Then he goes into the back for like, how long? Like 10 minutes. And they're like, bro, you coming back? So Leticia's in the bathroom and she overhears him talking crazy on the phone. Like, I don't know what's going on, but they just walked in. I don't know if you want me to kick them out. You know, I know what happened to the last girl when she let Black people sit in this diner, and I'm not trying to let that happen to me. So Leticia was like, yeah, we need to go. They about to
well, They also, I want to pause there because this scene was like very impactful to me because I was starting to get anxious that they would kill Uncle George, and I was like, I just don't want to see Courtney B. Vance die. Like, it's not what I'm here for. Yeah. So when they came in, that's why I think that he was saying that it was really just about, oh my God. So I just Googled this and to get this picture of the diner, and I think that the VR experience is in the diner as well, which is anyway. I can't wait to check this out for sure. No, but okay. So basically I think that what Uncle George was saying was like, I heard this diner might be safe, so let's go, like you said. And then when they get in there, they hear the stuff you said, like this don't feel right. And Uncle George is like, we might as well stay. We're here. We're hungry. So he's decided to take a stand. And I can only imagine how often you would get irritated as fuck and be like, you know what? I'm about to take a stand. I can't do this. Like, we've been on the road all day. I'm about to eat. So like you said, Leticia comes and, she hears it. But I want to just highlight that when she does it, she comes screaming and running in her little heels. Like, we got to get the fuck up. Get off your asses. Let's go. Like, she's like, get out of here. This is not safe. And at that same time, Tick and Uncle George, they have this mind meld thing they do that I really love, where like they mention a book or they mention a reference to history. So here's the thing, you can tell that like Uncle George taught him a lot. Uncle George, like as much as his father read too, Uncle George is the one who taught him about slavery, because there's going to be so many times when he turns to Uncle George and says, what do you know about this? And he answers his question without him, like, they don't practice it. So he was like, this is like one of these history things. Why was the White House white?
I forgot to put that part down.
Oh, no, it's okay. You reminded me. Why is White House white? And he was like, because it got burned down during the war, which, first of all, pause right there. We was burning down. Who did it? Was it the enslaved people? Was it the South? It was the South. It was the rebels. It was probably the rebels.
Is there a connection between the White House and this castle?
Can we talk about, no, first of all, can we just talk about how, like, all of history is bullshit, because this White House has not been there since whatever, like, burn the shit. Pick a new house. Pick a new house. So apparently what happened was it was burnt and they rebuilt some of it, which is like, is it rotting? And the enslaved people who were in charge of everything had to repaint it white, which imagine having to rebuild things. You don't got no permit. You ain't got no HVAC training. You ain't got no boss to clock in your timestamp. You just got to figure out the schematics to build something. Like, we are geniuses. We are geniuses. So anyway, he was like that. So they start noticing little things like that. Some stuff is painted over, and they recognize like, oh shit, somebody done burnt down this diner before, which is a detail I in 2020 would never notice. I'd be like, I see a roach in this Waffle House, but outside of that, I'm not gonna see anything else. So they run out and leave at the exact same time, and the way they get in the car and run is like, my heart, I had to pause it. I kept having to pause. I was like, I cannot. So you telling me white people can just kill them on sight? We still dealing with this?
Yes, because he mentioned earlier, or maybe later. No, they mentioned later, but it's right after they mentioned how like people go missing, and they're like, it's probably because the sheriff, like they probably just killed them. So,
but if the sheriff doing that, people are lynching people because they feel like it.
Exactly. Anytime, any day. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because I totally forgot about that, like history conversation, and then the White House, and then he moves the board, or he moves a piece of the floor back, which is like, how did he even do that? Because it's like, damn, the floor was not stuck, it wasn't glued down,
right?
They just threw this diner up, like just threw it together and said, we just gonna go back to how things were, no big deal. So yeah, Leticia comes out, she said, no, we gotta go. She's running. She said, I'm gonna go run to the car, y'all figure this shit out. She grabs the car, they jump in. Next thing you know, there's a mob shooting behind them. I'm like, where did y'all come from? No one said, oh guys, no one rolled up and said, listen, y'all, you're out of line. This is not this is a white only town. No one said anything. They said, we are gonna shoot at you. That's it. Like,
how ready do you have to be? How ready do you have to be that if somebody pop up, you ready to go? You TTG, you trying to go. When you see a black, it's get your gun and your ammunition. Like, they don't have group text. They don't have group text. They don't have call waiting. So they just have to be ready. They have to hear the sirens and go.
Was it the white man that left, or was it the man on the phone? Like, who?
No, I think it was them driving in. They saw the people at the fire department.
Oh, maybe.
I think they literally saw niggers and said, "Oh," and they phone treated.
Wild to me. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So anyway, yo, that was, my heart was racing. I was like, are they gonna get shot? They shooting at the window. Imagine you're just living your black owned life. You're like literally black owned store life. I just want to make a little directory, and next thing you know, someone's shooting out your windows. Like, what? So that was wild to me. So then, out of nowhere, some white savior comes through and cuts off the fucking, I don't want to name them white savior, but some white person, some lady cuts them off, cuts off the mob with the guns and the car behind Tick, George, and Leticia, and the car flips. Everybody dead. It was dead on impact. I was like, thank God. But they lied about that later, so that was kind of weird. They definitely lied about it when they get to the next scene is there at the brother's house, and they were like telling the story. And then he said, how did you get away again? They said, Leticia's driving. You know, she's amazing. She knew what she was doing. She just got us out of trouble.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing that I think is important for that first of all, you are like, who is this lady? But secondly, like, I feel like we saw that car already once. Like, it's a silver, weird looking car. Yeah, it's like it's like a Batmobile kind of looking car.
You know what? I was saying that we didn't need to talk about the man at the bar, but we do, because he's the one that says that the father left with a white man in a fancy car. And that was,
yes, there it is, that clue. There was like, we knew that the father, like, we knew that we were on the right trail, because I'm like, how do we even know this is not a dummy mission? Like, how do we know they're on the right track? And it's like these little things are helping. So she comes out with this supercar, and what I love about the show is, like, basically the way that she stopped the car was not a head-on collision. It was like she stopped, there was a gap, and then the car seemed to hit a wall that wasn't there. And I think that the reason why they didn't tell the brothers, because them, like me, said, I'm not going to talk about it if y'all don't talk about it, because I don't know what the fuck just happened. It was like,
hatch that, but now it makes sense when you get to the...
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I was like, okay, this is weird, but guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to be the one to admit that I saw the weird shit happen. So that's why they were just like, okay. And then also it's clear that people probably died, because that's a real head-on collision.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was, yeah. They were like,
who comes and picks them up?
That's their comrades better come get them. They race war comrades. And that's right. What I'm saying. Like, they can't even, right. They can't even be like, yo, we got them crackers. Like, they have to be like, we don't know who did it. Like, they came after them, and they would still pay consequences for killing them in self-defense.
Crazy. And not even kill, for them dying.
In pursuit of them. Right, exactly.
We didn't touch them. Our car's fine. Somehow they died. Oh, but it's your fault. So yeah, that's crazy. I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I did not see that wall, but now looking back, I might have.
Yeah, that was my scene. I was like, something right. So then I think,
like, okay, because how did the silver car not get messed up?
First of all of it was like, whose car is this?
And how did they know? Because they were in a completely different road on the other side of the corn stalk. Right.
It brings up this theory I have whenever I watch a movie or a show where someone's chasing someone, and you know how like they're running through the market and like, oh, hey, watch it. And I'm always like, why does nobody say, whoa, 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 whoa? Where are you going? Who is chasing you? Why you run? Are you good? Are you bad? Like, I gotta help, because I'm like, it'd be like bad guys getting away and don't nobody want to get, but all the white people I know don't mind their business. So I'm like, how you getting through all these places and nobody's saying, sir, you're being chased. You know what I'm saying?
They don't. Sure, that's hilarious.
So in a movie, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to. No, stop them. Put your leg out. Anyways, I think, then now they're looking for Uncle George because they found some type of clue.
They are, what do you mean, Uncle George?
They're looking for Montrose, my bad.
Okay, so they're at the brother's house now, and they're trying to figure out where they should go.
I think we went backwards. You're right. My bad. So yeah, they're at the house. They're trying to figure out where they should go. Go.
No, the brother's house though. This is after.
Right. I thought that. I forgot. I think that I thought this brother's house woods, but I'm out of order.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they get into this crash. The next stop is the brother's house. They stay overnight. But the brother has, like we were talking about, he also seems to have like some directory research experience, and we're not really sure. But I forgot to mention that Courtney B. Vance's character, Uncle George, mentions that Leticia works at the Historical Society in Springfield, and that's why she's coming on the trip with them, because she might be able to find out more information about
it was her or the brother.
He said that she has some works for, I don't know if that was a mistake, but that's what he said, that she has, literally the word she. So she works at the Historical Association, or maybe, you know what, I'm gonna go look back and double check the name. But anyway, someone works at the Historical Association in Springfield is gonna give them more information. So maybe it was the brother. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that was the reason why she got on the trip. So we'll figure out who that person was. But when they get to the brother's house, they are like, doesn't seem like there's a road that goes into the area you're trying to find. So that means you won't be able to go in the car. You'd have to go on foot. And they're like, well, maybe there's a road. We'll figure it out. We'll drive around and try to figure it out. And then for some reason, Leticia and her brother don't get along. So they have an argument. It's not clear, but it seems like he has a problem with her being a Rolling Stone. And he's trying to it seems like both the brother and her sister earlier on are like shaming her for her lifestyle. And they're like, you got to get out of my house. I don't know what you into. You on a road with two men. Like, we not with it. Like, I don't know. So something.
I had the impression that like she was out here hoeing, but then she said something about like she used the money that he gave her because she missed her mom's funeral.
Yeah.
She used that money to bail out her friends.
Yeah. So then it seems
so I'm like, oh,
rights warrior.
She might just be a freedom fighter. And I'm like, or a freedom writer. I don't know if this, you can say both. But the point is that she's doing something. I'm like, oh, that gives me a better sense, because I thought she was just the light-skinned Jezebel in the family. I didn't know what the dynamic was going to be.
It seems like she's like the progressive freedom fighter in the family.
But she has a lot of unresolved stuff with her mom, and they don't feel that way about it.
Right. So, and like it could be what you were thinking. Like maybe they've always like made it seem like she was doing something wrong, and there was also a light skin thing, colorism thing. Like, oh, you just this, whatever, hoochie out here sleeping in people's houses. So let's see. Now, the brother does warn them about the sheriff and alleged monsters in the woods. So they kind of know there's something going on there. He says, oh, it might be wildcats or bears, who knows? But they said that there's some monsters, people have been going missing. Plus there's this crazy sheriff that there's tons of complaints about. And the NAACP are keeping a hefty file on the sheriff. So keep your eyes peeled and beware when you get over there. So they start driving over there. They make a stop, and lo and behold, the sheriff drives up. Like they knew that the sheriff was gonna be policing the woods, and the sheriff finds them, and then he runs them the fuck out of town. So that's when you find out about sundown towns.
Right. That's where I want to pause real quick or pull over, because I think that we are not historians. Like, I think I got my American studies degree. You got your Africana minor, right? Major? Double major? Major. So we have some context, but I just want to talk about how in the issues we have today with the police brutality and all cops are bad campaign, is like, what you have to understand is, sure, are there some people who wake up and say, I want to be a good guy? Sure. But there are so many people whose lineage of policing comes from the idea that it was illegal. The sheriff said, it is my duty to kill you niggers if you're here when the sun goes down. it's his duty, it's his right, it's his legal obligation to do that to you. Like, and so that's what I'm saying. And this is the 1950s. Your parents were alive, or your grandparents were getting on by then. Like, this is not sci-fi. So I think that I know people watch shows and be like, oh, this is so dramatic. Like, it's based in very real experience. It's not. It feels like a fantasy because it's so fucked up. But yeah, I just want to point that out. Like, police are historically racist. They're inherently racist because they never were really here. Because if police were really good people, they would be advocating for the right laws like the rest of us. They wouldn't be like, oh, well, I guess I evicted people who needed their housing, and, you know, took a mom to jail because she tried to put her kid in a better school. But that's just my job. No, they would be boycotting with us. They would be protesting with us if they really gave a fuck. So I just want to point that out.
There is also a history of having like city jobs and having jobs in the police force specifically that allows people to progress into, or like move into the middle class because of the pensions, because of the steady pay, because of the hours, because of the wages, because of the protections that the force does provide for you and your family. And knowing that my family has benefited from that as well, it's like, it really is fucked up, because it's like, regardless, like, the police still has the racist history, and the system perpetuates all of that racism, and like, you're participating in it. Whether or not you benefit, you're participating in the perpetuation of white supremacy. So,
and I don't have the answers, but I think that we all have to do what you just did, which is acknowledge. Like, I mean, I think that like, I come from a family full of teachers, and I know that they do their very best. Like, they're teachers in a very under-resourced urban environment. But still, we have to think, like, schooling is also inherently racist. Like, you can put your Black dab on it. You can read, you know what I mean? You can bring in your own supplies. You can teach your kids Black History Month. You can put pride in it, but you're always fighting a system that if you did nothing to it, it would continue to perpetuate racism. And so I'm not saying that to even, I want to be clear that what we're not doing is blaming anyone. We're just saying, like, outlining these systems helps, because me and you have a lot of conversations offline, and we'll put them in our other podcast we're going to launch, but about, like, this idea that people are like, well, I don't like X and I don't like Y, and so we're going to argue about X and Y, but we should just argue about the system of the alphabet. Like, the system of the alphabet is the problem here, not the fact, like, we can use other letters, you know what I mean? I don't know. So just kind of using that as a metaphor. But anyway, yeah, so we are here. They're in the woods. He mentioned sundown, like you said, which is literally the idea that if I catch your ass in my city limits when the sun goes down, which just feels so arbitrary to me. They don't have no moon app telling them what time. Like, yeah, dead ass, he said, like, you have like 6 minutes and more. And I would just say this, and I'm gonna let you go back to leading it. Like, if I knew that I was in any type of sundown area, any type of region, my ass wouldn't leave the house after noon. But I just don't have time to get caught up, flying the tire. I would be, if you want to know about somebody who would not leave the house, it would be my ass during this time. Like, I just wouldn't do it.
The get caught up part is the funny part for me, because it's just like, you just never know. Like, you might need to go to the bathroom. You might need.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh no, dead. Okay, if I drank some milk, and I didn't know it was milk in this, and now I'm stuck in the toilet and it's
they put milk in it next to you.
What am I do?
Oh my God.
Like, it just reminds me of how many luxuries we have, or like the idea of like, think about how much space racism has to take up in your brain, because you have to organize. Yeah. Oh, but do me a favor. I was on mute because I was eating. Sorry to the YouTubers. Come off mute though, because they can't hear you laughing at me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, no, go off if you need to, but I'm like, I want to hear your laughs now.
But yeah, so where was I? Okay, so yeah, you can see the sheriff is in the background. I don't have his name. It's not important.
It's not important.
To shine. No, I'm just kidding. But it's not important. But they know who he is though, because at the brother's house they have his name. They have his file. And everything. So
they know to watch out for him.
Sheriff even is like, how do you know about me? Like,
not yet, but like, they know how to act. And I think, just going back to, again, respectability politics, right? They are yes sir, no sir. He makes Tick call himself a smart nigger. Like,
listen,
that was heartbreaking.
it is so clear that he is here to terrorize, demean, berate any Black person that comes through, regardless of whether or not they broke a law, regardless of whether or not it's the sun is down. That's what his job is.
That's his job.
Smile respectfully. I'm here to make your life hell.
And I feel good about it. I feel great waking up every
safety for my white citizens.
Yep, I'm here. There you go. I'm here, and I feel great about that. I love that for me. So yes,
shiny badge.
Right, and the thing that he's smiling, and the thing that gets me is actually I got the photo. I'm gonna pull this up. So I just real quick when they are talking about him like him punking Tick and making him like, you know, admit that he would kill him if he doesn't literally say what he says. There's this heartbreaking shot of Leticia like trying to like avoid eye contact, like avoid making Tick feel bad, and that hurt me. Like just to have a cisgendered moment for a second, like to know that a Black man who feels so much strength, like he fought for his country, he's muscular, like the nigga takes care of himself, and then to have, and he's a leader in so many respects, and then to have this sheriff come and say, hey, you're a bitch, you're a boy, you're nothing, like to make him say that in front of that his lady is like that, like it's innocuous. It's on every layer, every level. But anyway, so sorry, go ahead.
No, but that's a really important detail because I feel that. I feel you, sis. Because even today, still accurate.
Well, these niggas be doing it to themselves at this point, but that's for the other podcast. And mind you, like I don't believe in that. That's the reason why I call out being cis, because it's not like I believe that, oh, a man's place is this and a white man should accept to a Black man. I think the bigger issue for me is in that system, Black men have to do all these actions, but because whiteness trumps gender in that instance, they can come and like undo all of that work. And I know that if you put stock in that you really like that can hurt you. But if you devalue the gender-based system, if you devalue these systems and you just live for yourself and make your own labels, the violence is still violence, but it's like, it doesn't have that power to crush you. Because it's like, oh, you can call me whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I don't identify as that. Like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. But for masculinity, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I don't need white paperwork to tell me my gender, but I do think that in this time, in this place, I know that hurt him. And I want to acknowledge that, like, Black men have feelings too.
This really goes back to what we were saying about how we have to recognize that we can fight multiple battles and we have to actually make the progress that we need to make. Otherwise, we're really just taking 2 steps forward and 10 steps back.
Period.
So I don't think there's not too much left, but it does get very fucking crazy moving forward.
Yeah, it's almost like this last part, although it happens quick, is enough to be its own episode.
Literally, it's like...
But actually, no, let's actually talk through the feelings you had during the end of this sundown scene.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the sheriff runs them out of town. They're counting the seconds. They're like trying to count the distance. The sheriff is on their ass. They get by like 2 minutes and they're driving fast, and the sheriff didn't get back in his car yet, and then he speeds up right behind them. He starts hitting their car with his car. He starts
because he literally
out.
Because he basically said he would lynch them if he caught them. And also I wanted to point out that because this is what fucked me up about it. He was like, they were like, oh, wait, hold on, sorry, this is so minute, but it was so to me, like he was like, okay, we're about to go south, and he said, you can't go south, you'll never make it at 8 minutes going south. He said, okay, we'll go north. And he said, okay, I guess that might work. And that's when I should have said, something ain't right about this. And then the second thing was, he said, oh, that's where he called him a smart nigger, because he said, can I make a U-turn? Which you're telling me we're in a dirt road and that nigga would have pulled you over for making a U-turn, which he would have. So he was like, oh, okay, so I see you smart. So as they're going, he pushes them north, which is, I don't know what part, I guess they're probably Eastern Mass.
I remember Worcester.
He was in Worcester. Yeah, they're definitely Eastern Mass. They're near the border, and he's pushing him north, or the county border. And yeah, like you said, they're counting down. It's like, you know, like they give you suspense. They give you like race scenes. Like I've watched 24. You know, I've watched several seasons of 24. Like this is literally like a countdown to see, will they literally die by the hands of white men if this car, and they can't pass the speed limit.
Listen,
the stress.
Literally, they're like, I'm trying to go faster, but I can't go too fast, but I have to keep moving, but I have to keep my eyes on the road, but he's bumping me. And the sheriff doesn't give a fuck. And he's like, they're too scared. They would never retaliate. They would never stop short and make the car over into the freaking field. They would never do that. But they could have, but they didn't.
All three of them could have, I mean, if all three of them was gully, they could have killed that nigga, but then they know that's killing my, like, that's it. Like, there's no way out.
No one would know. So yeah, he's bumping them. They make it just in time. Whew. And then 2 minutes later, driving down the road, what do they see? A police barricade. Like, bitch, what the fuck?
Like, dead ass, they literally trapped them. He literally made them go north because he knew they would be waiting for him. And when I saw that, I said, oh, bitch. Like, you did this on purpose. Like, we can't never win. We can't never get out of slavery. Like, this is terrible. So yeah,
I was like, listen, he said, go north, got back to his car, got on the radio, said, we got a nigger going north.
Over and out.
Over and out.
I mean, because they was waiting for they were like, we got it. Like, they were cheering. And so, yeah, so they're like, gang, gang. So they march him in the woods. And then that's when, this is the part you brought up before, but that's when they're like, they think that they've stolen some shit. And what I want to remember is how gaslighting racism is. Like, it's very possible there's no robberies.
Right.
They could just be making this shit up.
Right.
There doesn't have to be something that they're basically making it seem like
they are they walking to?
Like they make it seem like they stole something, like these people stole something. But it's like, if y'all really thought they stole something, just search the car.
Right.
Just say that.
Search them. Search their persons.
They don't have shit on them. You gotta let them go. But that's what I'm saying.
Let's waste some time.
Yeah. So they bring him in the woods. It's dark.
Okay, so they get to the police barricade. Then for some reason they make them get out of the car and they all start walking through the woods. And I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
Why would they like them in the police cars and drive them to the? Because
it's not about. That's what I'm saying. When I first watch, I was like, oh, because what they literally say to them, right, is, we think that y'all are the people who are robbing people in this area. And then they're like, no, don't worry, like, we're not them. But then now I think about it, like, if they are the people robbing people, you're going to execute them no matter what? Like, there is no rule of law. There is, like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's where I'm like,
get you ID'd, let me find the person that you robbed and let them and see if you're the person.
Yep. So I think that's what you just brought up is like what I meant when I said, like, oh, there really isn't anything. There really isn't a crime they're investigating. Like, they just want to bring them out there so they can hurt them.
So yeah, that was messed up. So then they get into the woods, and lo and behold, niggas start going missing. No, they
start hearing the noises.
They start hearing noises, and a monster jumps out of nowhere and starts taking these police officers out. Like, gory, like, I don't even know how to explain it. And it was kind of weird because at one point it seems like they're afraid of light. So it's like, are they vampire monsters? Like, what is going on? But like, two of them get taken out and they start running. And then
everybody's gone.
The sheriff died, I think. Yo.
No.
I saw
the sheriff got his arm bitten off and several other people died. Yeah. And then Uncle George got trampled, and he has a bad knee, as we know, so we were worried about him.
Yes, Uncle George got left, and then he was on the ground. He said, well, I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah, he did what I would have did. I would have like, play dead. Possum. Because he just laid it out. And then, he had this disgusting moment where a person's arm was left behind, and he knocked the light. He got the flashlight out of the hand. Yes, so we see that, and the light thing is gonna. Yeah, it was so nasty. I'm just like, the gore. I mean, it was scary as shit, but it was like so well done. Because this is when I said, "Oh, bitch, we back to sci-fi." Okay,
yes,
what's happening?
So that wasn't just a dream. We're doing sci-fi.
Because when they were walking at some point, Leticia, Tick was telling Leticia about a book. And he was like, I bet you out here in these woods, there's these monsters, and they're big, and they have 100 eyes on them. Like, he was talking, and I was like, these niggas better stop. You're telling the universe about a book, and the universe is about to make that book come true. And like, every little book that they mention, which is what is so deep about this show, like, every book they mention is coming coming to light, because they do that. And then when they all make it to the cabin, when they're hiding with two of the sheriff with the arm cut off, another police officer, and then the three of them, Tick, Uncle George, and Leticia. Tick is like, Uncle George remembers Dracula and remembers that like vampires don't like light. And so it's like that inspires Tick. And it's like all he has to do is literally point out a book, and Tick understands the significance. And I think I love that.
That's really, really a good point, because I'm sure it's going to come up, obviously, because he owned the bookshop and Tick is a reader. He keeps
it happens in the next episode too.
About reading on the trip. So that is all gonna, and this is like a common theme in other movies where it's like a book, or like, you know, there's a story that makes sense in this context, and they're like, oh, what do you do when something
right happens? Yeah.
Oh, that's
I feel like few shows are as ambitious as this though, because they will name like 2 books and be like, bitch, look, you heard about Dracula, this right here, you heard about that right there, you heard about Sundown, that. So like they're giving us a lot.
They're giving fiction, nonfiction.
Yes, they're giving sci-fi. They're giving black realism, black super realism. It's everything. So one of my favorite parts, because we saw the TikTok or the video recap, you know, they realized that the car has all the light because of how prepared they. Think about this. If they weren't this prepared as black people going on a green book tour or getting research, they would not have that much light, flares, because I don't have no flares. I know I need to have flares. I don't have no flares in my car. So
no emergency kit.
Right. And so think about this. In the midst of them definitely about to die, the sheriff Tick is like, all right, I'm about to go run to the car, and the sheriff says, no, you're not. You're too smart. You might leave us. Nigga, so what?
Right. There's monsters.
Yeah, like, oh, so
why don't you go?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't even make it so. You can't even like trust in this moment.
Y'all can terrorize black people day in and day out, but you ain't got a safety emergency kit in your car.
Period. Like, y'all not ready for nothing because you. So anyway, you need us. Yeah, you need us to save you again. So Leticia says she's gonna go, and she says, I want to say Psalms 23, whatever it is. The Lord is my no, that's the Lord my shepherd. She says the other one.
Let me look at that real quick.
Yeah, that's the one because it comes up again later. It might be that one, but it's basically, she says one of them verses that is like, for helping me through it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be. No, that's Lord's Prayer. I keep saying the same thing over and over. But so she says Leticia's gonna run. So she goes, you know, I ran cross country. I did track in high school. We're like, okay, it is that she read, or that I said.
The Valley of the Shadow of Death.
I fear no evil. Yeah. Well, it's one of them, and clearly, you know, we not no Bible thumpers, but not no more. But so she goes to run, and Leticia runs like FloJo. Okay, like she is the fuck out. She's Leticia Bolt. Like she's out there, and the TikToker
That's my name next show.
Thank you. Yes, hold on to that. The TikToker that we mentioned was talking about how, like, that's how you run. You don't jog. You don't stroll. You book it because you like either my lungs gonna give out or they gonna get me. Like it's one or the other. Like, and the TikToker was like, you know, you got the devil's cousin behind you. You're not about to be casual. So she's running. We hear the sounds. We hear the monsters come. It's dark as shit. But she makes it to the car. And as she makes it to the car, we start to see some of the. I didn't know if this would be relevant, but some of the behavior of the monsters, like they can jump and they can burrow under the ground. They literally can just get under the ground. I was like, oh, what?
Yes, it's like. How are we going to defeat these things? They have too many capabilities.
So then back to the shed, going back to Dracula, Tick and Uncle George are still communicating with each other without saying much, and they recognize that the sheriff started to make these nasty ass noises, and his friend is like, you good? And I'm just like, this is so Walking Dead when someone's about to turn into a zombie and they're like, no, I still love him. And it's like, he's gone. Seriously, this is a zombie now.
You wanna die?
Yeah, you can die with him if you like him that much, but that's not him. You know, so we hear beep beep, and Leticia crashes through the shed with her car. Right. And Uncle George had already fallen over to the side, so she kills a monster because the monster had already killed the other person. That monster jumps out the window, so now it's just
and kills the friend.
Exactly, yes. And so but then that sheriff monster runs from the car. So now they grab they use the car, the woody headlights, and the flares to hold off the monsters. And I'm like, this
is too much. Like, imagine.
Oh my God.
We've been running from racism all day.
And they didn't even eat. Yeah, they didn't even really eat good. Like, I'm just like.
They didn't eat. And then the finale is you gotta face these monsters with your emergency pack.
And one of the good commentaries I heard online is like, what's really more scary? What's more tiring? Fighting racism or fighting imaginary monsters?
Literally. It's
I'm
like,
like,
I don't know. I feel like more prepared. I feel like they're just looking for blood. They're not here for my skin.
Yeah, at least I know in the daylight they're gonna go away. Like I can keep it, you know what I mean? I can avoid them. Like I know the rules. And so they
really sundown don't mean shit.
Right. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's sun up to sundown, trauma and terror. And so I didn't know if they make it through the night, but they do. They do. And then what are they doing to end the episode?
They wake up. They walk.
No, they're walking. They're fucking walking again. I'm like, what? You can have a car and you still gonna end up walking if you
no map, no nothing. Had no clue where they were.
You just gotta walk down that road and hope for the best.
I was thinking about that because I was like, imagine you walk in the wrong direction. There was no GPS.
You walk right back to a clan meeting. What? Come on. So as they're walking,
we gotta ask for directions. Ooh, we walked 2 miles in the wrong direction.
That's why, man, imagine trying to read a map right now. They had survival skills, bro. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like I'm not saying it's worth it. I'm just saying that that's how resourceful we are. That we found that we learned we could take care of ourselves. Like, and I think that's something I want us to always remember to do. Like, we have it in us to plant stuff. We have it in us to, circumnavigate this land. Like, we have it in us to not have these luxuries. Like, they are kind of like keeping us, like, that's why people say you either sleep or you woke. Like, you're asleep if you don't realize that, like, you need to be self-sufficient. I'm not self-sufficient. I just know I can tell other people they need to be that, and then maybe I'll hear it in my spirit. But anyway, so they're walking, and then what do they walk up to, Spetch? Or Love Jones?
Fantastical, humongous, beautiful castle.
This mansion. In the middle of nowhere. The lawn is manicured?
In a clearing. Like, there's
yes.
There, and there's a clearing with a castle. What?
But they also, and they walk over this bridge, and I recognize now that bridge is like, there's a land, like, it's like just that, like, it's like you walk over the bridge and now we're in a different area. This is no longer the woods, it's no longer a dirt road. Like, I don't know where it came from. But what do we also see as they're walking up to the door? The silver car that we saw block the whites earlier. And when they knock on the door, they're bloody. Yeah, they're bloody, they're tired, they knock on the door. This white nigga who looked like Malfoy answers. And do you remember what he said?
No, what did he say?
He said, "Welcome home, Mr. Freeman. We've been waiting for you." And it goes off. What?
Yeah, that was so confusing because we're assuming this is the same white man that the guy at the bar.
Yeah, was wrong. Yeah, exactly. That's a good connection.
White man in a nice car that looked foreign. And we're like, why would he leave with the white man? And if he thinks that this is related, this is where I got confused. If the father thinks that this is related to his mother's, to Tick's mother's ancestry, why would the father go if the father does not have the ancestry? So I guess he didn't really know about the story, or he didn't realize that, like, there was a lot more to it. Because I'm like, why would either or the white guy somehow convinced Tick's father that there was something that he could get out of it? Because I'm like,
yeah,
if they needed Tick, why didn't they just find Tick? But
yeah, I think there's some
reason to get him there was to, like, trap his father.
For sure. Yeah, you brought, those are good questions. And let's wrap it up by doing your questions, and then I want to do predictions for the rest of this series. But, like, so yes, I want to answer that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I said answer like I know. I just want to tell you what I think. What I think is that so I feel like they had to have gotten him under some pretenses, because you know how, like, they always can just
gambling addiction.
Yeah, gambling, or we have Tick, you got to come get him, or even
wrote the letter to Tick saying I'm going here.
Right. Well, okay, but here's what I think happened in that instance. I think what happened is they found a way to convince him, and I was gonna say one of the options could be, we found a way for you to see your dead wife. Like, they could have said anything to him and he would go. Here's the mansion. And so they get him there, and then they have him write a letter under duress to get Tick there. So I assume that he's not there.
They wrote the letter, because he said that his father never wrote him a letter.
I think that it was like a mixture of the two. I feel like it was all by force, though. That's the only thing I got so far. And I'm skipping ahead because I'm thinking about what I know from episode 2. So in episode 1, I wouldn't have been able to guess this, but it seems like they're making it seem like the father is there willingly, and they knew the son was coming by the letter, which makes it seem like, because the letter mentioned a birthright. You have a birthright or whatever. Right. So it's like the father was like, come see about it. So what I was remember being like, wow, I can't believe it actually worked itself out. Like the fact that they actually found the house, because I'm like, think about all the things that had to happen. The sheriff had to push them north. They had to go into those particular woods. The monsters had to come out. So the sheriffs haven't been working with the monsters. They don't know about them. So I'm just like, there's all these kind of layers of like, and they still made it there. And it's like, how big is the plan and the conspiracy to get them there? That's crazy.
I think that there was some type of spell that led them there, actually.
That's a good point. Well, you bringing up magic. Who knows if magic is happening? Magic isn't TBD. Because I feel like, you know what? I think about monsters, and I don't necessarily think about magic, but I feel like this show is going to have all of this. So to get into predictions, my prediction is that, actually, I'm going to save half for this. Because this. Yeah, no, I'm going to save half because I realized my second prediction came from this second episode. So I would say that my prediction on this is that there's a bigger conspiracy going on because obviously they wanted him there, which is crazy. There's something bad. Like, it's definitely not for their good. And that the monsters but at some point I'm like, maybe the monsters are hiding something awesome. Like, and maybe like they do get to be a part of this awesome thing. I don't know. Like, it just kind of seems like there could be a lot, but it doesn't have to be bad at this point. Maybe they're saving them by them coming to this mansion. So that's kind of, I feel like there's a lot of good that can happen at this point because they're finally safe. That's how I feel at the end of episode 1.
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say is like, okay, I'm not sure what led them there. There has to be some pull that's set it up because there's no way that they would have found this clearing.
That's exactly, yeah.
Who's this? Crazy to me still that the police didn't know about the monster.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Be terrorizing again, sun up to sundown, and this must not have been your first rodeo walking people through the woods because he was gonna rope them up. So I don't understand how you weren't prepared.
For sure. Oh, you know what you just reminded me of? This is the last detail we didn't mention. When they were fighting off the monsters, we were like, oh shit, they're in for a long night. And then after fighting them for a while, they hear a whistle. And the whistle literally makes the monsters go away like they're dogs. Yes. And that whistle was like, huh?
That's why I think there's something else bigger behind them finding this castle. Because it couldn't have just been because somebody we're gonna make sure that we're on the right path.
Them things are somebody's pets.
Oh, a little rustle over here, make them go to the right, make them go east.
Yes. No, it made me realize somebody is controlling these animals. Like, and that's a scary thing because it's like, who is the monster who's in charge of monsters? Like, you know, or kind of, and I don't know that it's the people in this house yet, but it could be.
Yeah.
And like the monster of a human being that like would let these monsters run around and rip people's heads off. I also wondered if the monsters were like, they knew that the sheriffs were evil, racist, and they only kill racist people. I thought that might be a case of like, these are I'm just telling you what I thought. Like, I was like, oh, these could be racist monsters.
It's at the will of the people controlling them. But I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, because we don't know anything yet. This is still just episode 1. So, is that it? Any last questions or thoughts on episode 1 of Dovecraft?
There was a lot.
There was a lot. Because we're setting a scene for like, and then when they show this is what's gonna happen in the series, which is always confusing as hell to me. They show all kind of shit where like all the characters we talked about, even though we only end with 3 characters in this episode, are gonna come back up. So like everyone we've seen is significant. Oh, I'm sorry, this might not be significant, but Uncle George has a daughter that does comic books, and I feel like I want to go back and figure out the significance of the comic books. Like, it could come back up. I just want to put it out there because I want to make sure my predictions are right. So anyway,
I also want to highlight Black artists and in the show.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot.
All Black comics in the 50s that we've never heard of or read.
There was the James Baldwin.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know what the name of the James Baldwin piece was that they used? Because they did this interesting thing where they put it over action.
There's not a name, or I couldn't find the name, but basically there's a historic debate between James Baldwin and an author named William F. Buckley, and it was held at Cambridge University. And I think it was in like 1963 or something. And that's what's playing. And basically James Baldwin is talking about racism and inequality, and kind of, I think he was saying that like, we're hindering American progress by maintaining these systems of inequality.
Absolutely. I mean, I always feel like, so I didn't know if we would hear Baldwin every episode, but I just feel like unworthy of Baldwin, because I feel like I don't fully understand all of his work, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, wow, like I'm always like, oh, like, you know, let me just listen, this is deep. And then to use art like that is something else. Like, I just think as a creator, like, how did people get the balls, the gumption, the clitoris energy, big clit energy to go and say, I'm gonna put this art over this because this is what this means to me. Like, and growing up in humanities class, I feel like everything was so like we had to interpret the fuck out of shit. Like, I'd be reading this white ass book and I'd be like
I don't know.
It's unclear. I'm supposed to how am I supposed to understand it? I don't understand. How would I know that him taking a shower means rebirth? You didn't teach me what water meant. How would I know? You know, so really,
I'm like, that. The people that would answer, I'm like, you knew that, like, you read the Spark Notes.
Yeah, and it's like, that's what your parents was teaching you. They was teaching you about fiction while I was learning Black history at home, and that's what it comes down to. But yeah, anyway, so I just, you know, I feel like, wow, to think about, like, this is the specific art I want to put in there. Like, we cannot do justice to all the different layers of art that's in here, but I think we did our best. We definitely did our best.
And we're going to continue to do our best. And this really showing me Black love, because it's like all the monsters and the terror that you're up against, but
yeah,
through it, you will find soul, you will find a home, you will find redemption. So.
There's romantic love, there's platonic love, there's family love, there's all these different things. Like, there's been no overt sexualness between Tick and Leticia. It's just, we just know they're both fine as fuck. That's it.
We were both in the sci-fi club, and like we
we both were nerds and we both glowed up.
That's where it started, and it just grew from there, and that's a beautiful thing.
Because she said, I'm about to wrap it up, but she was like, when she first saw me, she said, who that? Her sister was like, that's Tick. And she said, Tick? Tick then girl his ass up. So anyway, I stand for Leticia. Like, I mean, I stand for Journey. Seeing her back in something just makes me think about who she was to us growing up. And I think we can talk about that more in other episodes, because she's something else. Like, she's something else entirely.
Go rewatch movies.
Yeah.
And I gotta watch Underground, but that's coming.
Yes, exactly. We got a list. This is great. Okay, well, hey guys, thank you for listening to us recap HBO's Lovecraft Country on the podcast Dovecraft Country. Don't forget to let the Black women in your life know that they are witty, cultured, and worth your while. Oh, and read a book.
Word. Spesh.